Have you ever imagined what it would be like if ghosts had unfinished business and needed a human to step in and fix it for them? Not to haunt, not to scare, but to ask for justice, closure, maybe even love that never got the chance to be confessed. That's exactly why Korean dramas about spirit intermediaries never really go out of style. They mix fantasy with humanity in a way that feels surprisingly relatable. Today, we're talking about 5 dramas that explore this theme in completely different ways. From iconic classics to the newest title everyone's curious about, Phantom Lawyer. And as we go through each one, I really want to know your thoughts. Because honestly, these kinds of stories always hit differently depending on what you believe about life, death, and everything in between. Hotel del Luna 2019. Let's start with the legend itself, Hotel del Luna. This drama, starring IU and Yo Jin-gu, is arguably one of the most iconic fantasy K-dramas of the past decade. Set in a mysterious hotel that only serves ghosts, the story revolves around Jang Man-wol, the cold yet deeply wounded owner who has been bound to the hotel for centuries. Alongside her is Gu Chan-sung, a human hotel manager who slowly becomes part of this strange, beautiful world. What makes Hotel del Luna so powerful isn't just the ghosts checking in and checking out. It's the emotional baggage they carry. Every spirit has a story: regret, betrayal, longing, and the hotel becomes a place where they confront those emotions before crossing to the afterlife. And honestly, I think that's why this drama lingers in people's hearts. It doesn't treat ghosts as monsters. It treats them as people who simply didn't get closure. Personally, I feel like Hotel del Luna set the standard for this genre. The aesthetics, the soundtrack, the character arcs, it all feels grand and poetic. But I'm curious, do you think it romanticizes death too much? Or do you see it as a comforting take on what happens after we're gone? Let me know, because I've seen debates about this for years, and they never get old. Delivery Man 23. Now let's switch gears to something lighter but still emotional. Delivery Man, starring Yoon Chan-young and Bang Min-ah. Instead of a hotel, we get a taxi. And instead of a glamorous immortal owner, we have Seo Young-min, a struggling taxi driver who suddenly gains the ability to see ghosts. He teams up with Ji-hyun, a ghost with amnesia, and together they start offering rides to spirits who need help resolving unfinished business. I love this concept because it feels so grounded. A taxi is such an everyday space. We get in, we share a short ride, sometimes we even open up to strangers. So turning that into a bridge between the living and the dead? That's clever. Each episode feels like a short story, with different passengers and different mysteries. What really stands out is the investigative element. They're not just listening to sad backstories, they're actively solving cases, uncovering truths about how these people died. And sometimes, the money they earn goes to help the families left behind. That detail adds a layer of warmth that makes the drama feel hopeful rather than heavy. I'll be honest, I didn't expect Delivery Man to hit as emotionally as it did. It looks like a quirky fantasy at first, but some episodes are surprisingly heartbreaking. Do you prefer this episodic, case-by-case format? Or do you like a big, overarching storyline like in Hotel del Luna? I feel like this drama sits right in the middle. The Midnight Studio, 2024. Next up is The Midnight Studio, starring Ju-won and Kwon Na-ra. This one takes a more mystical and slightly darker approach. So Ki-ju is a 7th-generation photographer bound by a contract to run a special studio that only opens for ghosts at night. These spirits come in to take one final photograph, a last image to leave behind for their loved ones. There's something deeply symbolic about photography here. A photo freezes a moment. It captures existence. So the idea that a ghost's final act is to be seen, just one more time, feels incredibly poetic. Ki-ju himself is cursed by this responsibility, which adds tension. He's not just helping spirits out of kindness, he's trapped by fate. Han-bom, the lawyer who becomes involved, adds a practical edge to the story. She can't see ghosts, but she becomes entangled in their cases anyway. I think that dynamic is fascinating because it reflects how some people believe in the supernatural, while others remain skeptical. Personally, The Midnight Studio feels more introspective than the previous 2 dramas. It's less about adventure and more about acceptance. If you had the chance to take one final photo for someone you love, what would it be? That question alone makes this drama worth watching. I'd love to hear your answer in the comments. Oh My Ghost Client. Then we have Oh My Ghost Client, led by Jung Kyung-ho, Sol In-ah, and Cha Hak-yeon. This drama follows No Moo-jin, a cynical labor lawyer who gains the ability to see ghosts after a near-death accident. Unlike some noble, chosen hero, he's reluctant and annoyed by this new gift. He only helps spirits because he basically has no choice if he wants to survive. What makes this drama unique is its focus on labor issues. The ghosts aren't random wanderers. They're often workers who died unfairly, people whose voices were ignored while they were alive. So Moo-jin's job becomes more than just spiritual mediation. It becomes social commentary. I find this angle refreshing. It connects the supernatural to real-world injustice. It asks uncomfortable questions about exploitation and responsibility. And the addition of his sister-in-law and a content creator documenting their journey gives it a modern twist. It feels very now, very aware of media culture. Do you think mixing social issues with fantasy makes a drama stronger? Or does it risk being too heavy? For me, Oh My Ghost Client proves that ghost stories can still be relevant and critical, not just sentimental. Phantom Lawyer 2026. Finally, let's talk about the newest entry, Phantom Lawyer, starring Yoo Yeon-suk and Esom. Yoo Yeon-suk plays Shin Yi-rang, a professional lawyer who can see ghosts and ends up opening his office in a former shaman's house due to financial struggles. That detail alone already sets the mood. A law office in a haunted space? That's a perfect blend of logic and the supernatural. Yi-rang doesn't just see ghosts, he gets possessed by them, experiencing their unresolved grudges firsthand. Together with elite lawyer Han Na-hen, he takes on cases from clients who are no longer alive. And I think this is where the genre evolves again. Instead of a hotel, a taxi, or a studio, we now have a courtroom. Justice becomes literal. What excites me most about Phantom Lawyer is the potential for moral conflict. How do you prove a case when your client is invisible? How do you convince the living that the dead deserve justice? And how far should someone go to settle a grudge? Yoo Yeon-suk taking on this role feels like a bold move, especially after his previous projects. And pairing him with Esom adds an interesting dynamic, logic versus the unseen. I genuinely think this could be one of the standout dramas of 2026 if executed well. But here's my question to you. Are we reaching a saturation point with spirit intermediary stories, or is there still room for fresh ideas like this? In the end, what fascinates me about all 5 of these dramas isn't the ghosts themselves. It's the idea that unfinished emotions don't just disappear. Regret, love, injustice, they linger. And maybe that's why we connect so deeply to these stories. They remind us to resolve things while we still can. So out of Hotel Del Luna, Delivery Man, The Midnight Studio, Oh My Ghost Client, and Phantom Lawyer, which one would you recommend to someone who's never watched a supernatural K-drama before? And which one are you adding to your watch list right now? Let's talk in the comments because I have a feeling this conversation could get very interesting.